You don't want to miss this episode with Nirupama Vyas. It's organic, it's raw. We touched upon various topics from coaching, counseling, women in workforce, parenting, and some deep conversation on karma and energy healing. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of takeaway by the end of this episode. So enjoy watching this episode on Jennifer's Crossroad Conversation. Our guest for today has served in the security wing in the Ministry of Home Affairs of the Government of India for over half a decade. Yes, she is an ex-cop. She is a TEDx speaker, top sales prospecting voice on LinkedIn. She is also an energy healer. She is Nirupama Vyas. Welcome to my podcast, Nirupama.
Thank you, Jennifer, for such an amazing introduction. And I am so grateful. Thank you so much.
All my pleasure, Nirupama. As always, I've seen you full of energy, vibrant, charming, and spreading that positive vibes. And today as well, you radiate that positivity, and I can just feel it here. And I'm sure this conversation is going to be great. But I'm still going to ask you, how are you doing today?
Been doing amazing. And I think, when you talk about that energetic space, it is contagious. At the same time, when there's an energy on the other side, which is providing that kind of a space and that kind of a room wherein you can just spread your wings and move around, it adds to it. So thank you so much for holding that space and giving me this opportunity to really talk about myself and, share stuff with your audience. Thank you so much.
All my pleasure. I'm so looking forward to this because I know there's so much that I'm eagerly waiting to get out of you. You're a bundle of information and there's so much that you can share with us. So let's start right from the beginning. How was Nirupama in her younger days? Everyone evolves as they grow up. Walk us through your evolution. What change came by as you were growing up? And was it an external or maybe some internal introspection that brought about that change and evolution?
Sure. And thank you for taking me down the memory lane. It's been quite a while that I walked that side and, really met that Nirupama, of my childhood days. So I'll go back to the 90s. I was a 90s kid. And like any 90s kid, we had school, play, and TV, in those days. And that's what my life was all about. I was a little bit of a nerd because what was taught to us was that if you get good grades, that's when you will get good success in your life. So from a very early age that I can remember, I was maintaining my grades and was somebody who used to play a lot. And you could say I was a fitness freak right from my childhood, even before I knew what was fitness all about. So during my summer vacations, I remember that I used to be just doing something or the other outdoors, and probably a part of me was into quizzing. Like I used to be representing my school in quizzes, in debating and all. So that really helped me evolve as a person, because it was not just studies, but it kind of helped me in having an overall development per se with regard to my understanding, with regard to different world affairs and the different geopolitical situations that were going on back then. And as I was moving ahead, because I was in a typical girls' school at that time, so I used to have these bunch of friends with whom I used to exchange thoughts, brainstorm, move ahead. But I was still a confused kid, I was just focused in the now. Now, a lot of times, we tell people that you be in the present. I think I wasn't present at that point of time, and that's what I'm happy about. As we grow up, we start either delving into the future, or we start, dwelling on our past. That hey, this is what we did in the past. These were my mistakes and all. But I think I was a happy-go-lucky kid, just being in the now and not really thinking about what's going to happen next. So that's been a little bit of my childhood. And what really influenced me as a person, if you ask me, is my active part in my college years, in my debating society that I was a part of. And at the same time, I was a part of this model United Nations. So that's where we used to represent it as different countries, and that added to that, geopolitical spectrum of knowledge and the intellectual space, if I have to talk about.
Right.
Yeah, so pretty much
You,
that.
you,
Yeah.
you seem to be the good and perfect kid growing up. And do you think that as you grew up, you notice that there is something that you need to improve or you need to change, um, and that came through maybe through external sources, somebody telling you, or maybe you introspecting and saying that, okay, this is a certain trait of my personality, I need to change it or improve it. And how did you go about doing it?
You've actually used the right word in your conversation. You seem to be a good, perfect kid. And I believe in trying to be perfect, in trying to do everything right, which, my parents wanted me to be doing. I lost that spontaneity. And at the same time, I lost that part of enjoying my life, because I was all taking care of my grades, looking at it from the perspective of, okay, if I do this thing, what would be the outcome? What would be the destination? Where will this thing take me? But in all of that, I think I lost the process, I lost the journey, and I lost having fun. So that's one of those things. And a very important thing that you just asked me, that was there something that somebody pointed out that, hey, you could improve upon this thing. I think I was a very structure driven person, and that structure driven person was coming from a place of me belonging to a family of government servants, wherein structure, discipline, and having a proper routine, having proper habits, that was ingrained in us right from the childhood. So when I say us, it's me and my brother. You need to get up at a particular time, you need to be doing this at a particular time, and you need to be punctual, this and that, all of those things. So the moment I realized that this structure was coming in between me and my growth, because following a particular structure, a particular way of living, I could evolve in a certain way. And I was coming in between my growth because I was not letting myself fall. And making mistakes was a very big thing for me, because I was that perfect kid maintaining grades. I was that perfect kid doing all the right things at the right time. And if we look at life, life doesn't come in a perfect way. Life teaches you a lot of things first, and then it tells you, hey, it's the time for you to learn lessons. But if you are being Mr. Right or Miss Righteous, as I would call it, you miss those lessons and you do not allow life to happen to you. You are
Right.
just forcing yourself in a certain direction, and that direction may not be the one that belongs to you, or that direction may not be the one that you belong to. So I think the moment I could let go of that structure, and it was not easy for me because it was a hardcore conditioning for so many years. I had been in a certain way, and in order for me to really let go of that structure and come in the flow, as they say, it was painful, it was messy, and it actually made me feel, hey, I'm feeling lost. What next?
Yeah. But I'm sure with all the falls and all the trying to climb and find your own self, um, there was much more that you would have learned than the, if I may say, the structured ways, more like the blinders, that there is a particular path you have to follow.
Yeah.
But in allowing yourself to make mistakes, you would have learned so much more than you would have following that strict path.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I always tell my clients now, back in those days, I did not know this thing that it's always progress over perfection. You know, there's a saying that Rome was not built in a single day, but it took every day to build Rome. And so is the case with Nirupama. Nirupama cannot be built in a single day or in a certain way, having those blinders on, having those things that actually are coming as, what should I say, hurdles in my areas of growth. So the moment I was able to let go of those structures, the moment I was able to let go of those blinders, I could see a very different side of me, the natural side of me, which was probably there when I was a kid, even before the conditioning, even before, uh, the environment had a role to play upon me. And then I did not have to force myself that Nirupama, do this kind of a work because the society wants you to do this particular thing. Nirupama, do this thing because if you do this, this is going to make you reach a particular destination. I was flowing like a river, and I started enjoying my work, and I was never tired because it never seemed like work. I was just enjoying each and every day. And I think that's when you connect with your true self, the most important, authentic self. And you speak from there. And when you speak from there, there are no fears, there's no self doubt. Because you're able to accept yourself the way you are. And you're able to take yourself for the mistakes and for the not so perfect things that nobody can ever have. Nobody can ever have that perfect definition of life.
Right. And I think creativity just flows through like water then, right? It's not a
Absolutely.
forceful thing that you have to think hard about it. It just comes naturally. Yeah.
Absolutely. And creativity cannot cannot flourish in those boxed cultures. We really have to come out of the box, as the saying goes. You need to be breaking those boxes and
Right.
just be able to see that thing of yours raw as it is, unpolished as it is. Because even when a diamond comes out, though it undergoes a lot of stress, though it undergoes a lot of pressure, but a diamond only comes out when it is allowed to be there under natural conditions. Otherwise, what you have is an artificial diamond. That's not a natural diamond that you have.
True. So true. All right. Tell us something about your time as a cop. What did you do?
What did I do? Well, that was a very interesting part of my life. And I think that shaped me as a person right from the time I joined the security wing of Government of India, because that allowed me to undergo rigorous training, not only on my mental domain, but physical endurance. Everything was being covered. So I think what I enjoyed the most was to thrive in different situations. Like, I remember there was a survival training, and we were asked to go out in the middle of the night with very little supplies, and you had to survive the entire night, figuring out where will you live, how will you get food from the nature, how will you serve yourself. And that made me believe that if I can really survive this particular thing, I can survive anything in my life. So that was one of the milestones which I feel that shaped me as a person. Another area that I could look at was going out in the field doing investigations. And when I was doing that, I used to strike conversations with unknown people, meeting people of different eccentricities, and that really helped me understand people at the grassroots level. You know, we say a lot of times that the policymakers are sitting in the AC chambers, and they don't know what is the real world out there. But when I actually went ahead, did my investigations, inquiries, I actually understood that, how are people living? How are people living in different cultures? And the basic human needs remain the same wherever we go. So that gave a great opportunity to, serve people, and at the same time understand that what is it people want and how responsible of a position you are at, when you are doing this role, because a lot of people look up to you for what you are doing. So that also brought within me a sense of responsibility, and at the same time understanding that you know you need to keep adapting yourself to the changing circumstances, because every day you are into a different situation, every day you are into a different role, and that is bringing out a very different part of you. So if you remain the same person every day, it's not going to help. So I think these two to three things are something that I can actually think of as I reflect back during my work with the security wing of Government of India.
Okay. Now, in the current age, there are more women. There's more women representation in most fields of work.
Yes.
It was not so in the past, and I think when this thing began, the cycle began where the representation for women in all fields started happening. It was not very easy for women, not just um, with the thought that acceptance of it, but also about what was already in place, the systems, the processes. So it was difficult for women to adjust in those kind of situations, whether it be in business or whether it be in the army or air force. So considering your work in the Ministry of Affairs and the kind of work that you were doing, did you find anything challenging being a lady in that field of work at that time?
This is a beautiful question. Most of the, let's say, military, paramilitary, armed forces, they've been a place where it has been a male dominated, these are male dominated spaces for long. And initially, during one of my postings, um, it was so funny that there was not a ladies' toilet, because uh, all throughout, it was men who were coming, who were being posted, and they were, using that facility. And the moment women started coming, that thought came to them, oh, now we need a ladies' toilet. So I think that was one of the episodes that I can think of. Now, another area that I can think of, again, it's related to the natural cause. When we went to the mountains, and this was a time during our trainings and all. So out there, you don't have the loose. So, women going out, digging pits for themselves, and attending to the call of nature. So that was one of the things on the lighter side that, I could talk about, which I think I would have never done that in any other conventional job, per se. So while it was an adventure, while it was a new thing which I would have never done, but I think people are getting evolved with times, with more women coming at a senior position. They are able to understand the needs of other women, and that is also helping women to work in a way which so that they don't have to really worry about a lot of things, because they know that there have been people who are whether they are supposed to report to certain people, or whether there are some people at the leadership positions who are sensitive to their needs. And I am really talking about that part wherein the Vishakha guidelines, which actually eventually came in the form of posh trainings, in different offices, wherein they had that sexual harassment cells out there. So with the coming of this, and there's a sexual harassment cell being present in every government office, and most of the private offices also, it's compulsory for them to abide by the Vishakha guidelines and undergo the posh training. I think even the men have become quite sensitive. Now, if you tell your colleague that, hey, I need to take a leave because my child is unwell, or let's say, my child has got his or her board exams. So even men try to cooperate. Of course, there are all kinds of people. There are people who just say that these are excuses for women, to just sit back at home. But let's not I mean, let's not applaud those people who are actually helping and coming ahead in supporting the women, in doing both the work. I mean, the household work. I mean, I would talk about the family at home without our husbands being there. We cannot really go all out and do that. I mean, in our in the times of our parents, I used to hardly see my uh, grandparents helping the grannies. I did see my father helping my mom in a whole lot of way, and now when I see my husband, I see that he is doing the equal amount of work that I am doing. So even if we talk about men at home or men at workplace, I think they're more understanding, and they are more sensitive to the needs of women, and things are getting better. Of course, there are a lot more things that could be improved upon, but I think women like us need to really make things better for the coming generation, so that they can give a better legacy to the women ahead. I mean, that's what I would want to conclude with.
Right, right. And I think it all starts at home. As we discuss these things with our partners, they understand how we manage work and home, and they take that mindset when they go to their work and interact with
Absolutely.
their women colleagues around. So it's
Absolutely.
something that starts back at home, and we all have a role to play in it, whether it be men, whether it be women, and we just need to keep progressing and improving things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell me, why did you change careers? Why did you move into coaching? What made you do that?
Actually, back then when I started out, I cannot talk about one particular incident that this actually made me shift gears or move into a new career altogether. Like, if I look back and see, getting into the government was more a part of me following the family lineage or legacy, because everyone in the family had been a government servant. So it was like a monkey see monkey do thing, because they had been doing it. So the first option that I saw was to write a government sector exam and get into it, because they said that government job brings in a lot of safety and security. And because, like I said, I did not have a plan of my own, and when you don't have a plan of your own, you actually end up following in other people's plans. So that's where my journey began. But as I actually started my self development, personal development journey, and I started understanding who I am as a person, what are my values, what are those interests, what are my strengths, I realized that this was just a coincidence that I got into the government sector. And could I spend the next 35, 40 years of my life here? And I realized that the answer was no. There was nothing wrong with the place. There was nothing wrong with, how things were. But somehow I did not fit in there as much as I started knowing myself. But there's a lot of investment, when we look at in terms of getting into the government, because you have invested so many years to prepare for that exam, then you undergo different stages and interview part. So you don't want to leave that part immediately. So that was when I started exploring options. And while I was exploring options, I found that consulting or coaching could be one of the areas that I could help people with, because somewhere I had a knack for public speaking. Like I told you, in my college years, in my school years, I had been a debater. I had been going for MUNs and all. So there was a pattern that I love talking to people. And at the same time, uh, there is something within me that really knows what is the person on the other side looking for. So at that time, it was out of experiment that I did a couple of coachings, right from high, my name of my company was High Voltage Action back in those days. And
I'm sure
I
it
used
was.
to, yeah, absolutely. So then right from productivity to, there was this program that I used to run in those days, turbocharge your productivity, to the part of helping people really work on their efficiency. And that actually led me to the space of networking, wherein I was shadowing a particular coach, and I went into becoming a networking trainer. Then the next role that I had was helping people with the sales part. So it was a couple of I actually tasted a lot of dishes before I really figured out that what is it that I like. And the moment I got into that space, that I was building different side gigs along with a full-time job, I realized that I belong to that space of working professionals, because I had been a working professional, and I understand their psyche. I understand that what it is that they feel, what are their fears, what are their doubts, what are their limiting beliefs, when they want to take that plunge. And I realized that I want to be in that space of employment to entrepreneurship, because like if you talk about the education system that the Britishers had given us, that actually trained us to become an employee. And I was actually fighting that generational fight. It was not just, something to do with the skill or something to do with the knowledge. It was more to do with the mindset of the people, which we have gotten in inheritance from such a long time. And it is that fear of safety or fear of security that doesn't allow us to go all out. And definitely we all have our responsibilities, we have different bills to pay. So when I understood that this is the space I want to get in, I realized that I have lived that life, and I can actually tell people what I've gone through, because that's easy for me to connect with them. And at the same time, I can help them in that space, because you cannot solve somebody else's pain if you haven't gone through that pain yourself. So that's how I got into all of this. And now that I look back, I think it was more of an organic movement. Initially I did not have much thought, but as things moved ahead, I think like Steve Jobs says, when you look back, you can actually connect the dots. I think I was able to connect the dots.
Right. And I think it's all began with self-introspection, right?
Of course.
It all starts with trying to find yourself, and I think it's just a wonderful thing.
I'm still finding myself, Jennifer. I mean, I have my journals every day, and like I'm using that quote again. Rome was not built in a day. So every day you need to keep finding yourself. Every day you need to keep understanding who you are as a person, and you are a work in progress. The day you say that, hey, I've been built, it's going to be a flat graph.
Right. And if on a particular day you think, okay, these are the things I wanted to prepare myself on or get on par with, and you have done it all, you'll notice the world has moved on. You again need to relearn, unlearn, and try and cope up with the world again. So it's a constant learning journey, and it's a fun ride, actually.
Absolutely. So one is keeping up with the latest trends. Like you said, that the world is going ahead, and we are talking about AI, machine learning, and so many other things now. And another is self-learning and understanding yourself as a person. So I was reading this particular it was rather a video. It was not something that I was reading. So there was a particular person who got triggered by the reaction of one of the family members. And that actually got her thinking that there is some work that needs to be done here. Because if I'm getting impacted, if I'm getting triggered by the reaction of somebody, it means that something needs to be worked upon in myself. So while we may be acquiring a lot of intellectual knowledge, while we may be having a lot of outside learning, but till the time we don't become that person who can thrive in the world, of course, we have a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, but the information will not let us thrive in the world. That's a different ball game.
Right. And you started with coaching, and then you switch gears and you move to counseling. So
Yeah.
how did that happen, or why did you make the switch? What was your focus on when you started coaching, and what do you
Yes.
focus on now when you do a counseling? What's the
Yes.
difference?
Yes. So, Jennifer, when I started coaching, and if we have to talk about coaching per se, uh, coaching is more about asking questions from people and helping those people discover answers on their own and find their own answers while you are supporting your client do that. And when I was helping somebody build a business, I figured out at time that though the people can really understand their niche, they can have their why clear, that why they want to do it, what is the niche, what is it that they want to do, but the how piece was still missing. How to get it going. And another area that I figured out was that a lot of times people were stuck from within. They had a lot of things sorted on the outside piece. The blueprint looks good, the business plan looks good, but in spite of having the business plan, in spite of knowing your niche, in spite of uh, having the entire thing ready, they are not able to take action. And that got me thinking that what is it that is not allowing people to move ahead? And I realized that there was a lot of emotional work that had to be done. And this work was not only, in terms of knowledge, in terms of, let's say, skills, but this work was also something to do with their childhood conditioning. This work was also something to do with their generational legacy. This work was also something to do with their past lives that they were carrying. They were carrying so much of pain. They were carrying so much of suffering from their past life that was not allowing them to move ahead. And I felt that just giving things at an external level was not enough. Till the time that clearing is not done from within, so that they come at a neutral place and they are at a level playing field with everyone else. They cannot run at that pace. They'll just be crawling. And if they are crawling, they'll crawl up to a distance and then they'll be tired. So that's where, I felt that I wanted to give them a mindset piece along with the steps, along with the skills that were there. And in that space, counseling came in. And to support that, the next part of healing also came in, because even while I helped them discover that, hey, this is what needs to be worked upon, if that thing is not healed, at the root level, it is almost like, I put some nice makeup, but I'm totally broken. My skin is totally chapped. And I feel, oh my God, I just want to have a good look on the camera. But in reality, I'm all broken from within. And if I'm totally broken from within, I cannot move a long distance.
Right.
So that's the reason all these pieces came into being.
Right. And I think this is connected to what we hear a lot nowadays of the limiting beliefs, right?
Yes.
And limiting beliefs, we've seen that people don't want to take risks. Forget about taking risks. They may think of having some nice, hairy, audacious goals, but they don't want to take even the first step to, even working on it. And that's just because maybe they fear failure. They think they are not good enough, and all these kind of fears could emerge because of these limiting beliefs. And if you could just elaborate a little more on this limiting beliefs, is it to do with external forces? Is it something to do with internal? How can an individual identify that they have certain limiting beliefs so that they can approach a coach or a counselor and get that help that they need?
So whatever I think I can do or I cannot do is a result of my limiting belief. Like a while ago, you spoke about this part of self-worth. A lot of people, let's say something happened in the childhood, you wanted something out of your dad or mom. Like I remember I wanted a green car. And maybe because of some practical issues, mom or dad, they were not able to provide me. And I actually labeled that as I am not good enough. And that is the reason they are not giving me. Or they don't love me enough. Or I don't deserve to be loved. And believe me, these are at such a subconscious level or an unconscious level that they do not come to us at a conscious level most of the times. And they are like blind spots. Till the time you don't talk to an expert who understands, like what are your limiting beliefs. Or if, let's say, I'll give a very simple exercise to your audience. Talk about what are the 5 things that you feel that you cannot do. It could be, I cannot take this particular role because I feel that I do not know enough. Or I cannot get into business because I have that thought, what if I fail? So then you have a limiting belief, which is around the fear of failure. Or you feel that my boss does not acknowledge me enough. It's nothing to do with your boss. It is about you not feeling yourself worthy enough. So all the 4 or 5 situations, if you can identify in your life where you feel you are stuck, you're not able to move ahead. And I want you to actually go down a layer deeper and understand what are the thoughts, feelings, and emotions underneath that surface. And the moment you start identifying that what is your real thought, what is the feeling within, what is that emotion that is making you do that, you would see that there are so many limiting beliefs that are around you. Now, awareness around the limiting belief is one thing, but how do you overcome that limiting belief is a different topic, that we can talk about. Jennifer.
Right. And I think, as you said, that this is all happens in the subconscious mind and it could start at a very early age. How can parents ensure or identify if, because life is so busy, we speak to our children and sometimes we may not realize that we are saying something and they are perceiving it differently and it's building something in their subconscious mind. Is there something parents can do to ensure, that they are bringing up their children in a way that any kind of negative, some subconscious things are not getting built up in their kids?
I think if we can just allow the kids to be their most beautiful selves, not getting into the space of this is wrong or that is wrong, or if the child says, hey, I am not so beautiful or I'm not that good looking, if we can help children love the way they are, the way they are doing things, without getting into any judgment, without getting into any sort of uh, limitation that this is something you cannot do, and just celebrating who they are in their real self. Because there is no way by which you can control, this particular part, but what you can control is the damage, that the damage on the child is less.
Hmm.
And I think the most important thing that parents can do is that first they heal themselves. Because most of the times, parents never deliberately want to give anything wrong to their children. It is just because they are those unhealed beings that their limiting emotions or unhealthy emotions they are transferring to their children. So I think the most important thing parents can do is to first heal themselves.
Hmm. That's absolutely wonderful, Nirupama. I'm able to resonate so many things here because I myself am a parent. So these are just wonderful tips. And the next segment of this episode, there's a lot of deep, much more deeper conversations that I want to have, um, talking about energy healing. But before that, let's take a quick pause here. And I'm going to give you a list of numbers. You can pick a number from there, and I will ask you an off guard question. Nothing to do with coaching, nothing to do with
Sure.
serious, something just fun. So let me quickly give you the numbers. So maybe pick a number between 25 and 30.
27.
All right. So the question that I have against the number 27 is, if you could have any animal as a sidekick, what would it be and what would you name it?
Side?
A sidekick, like a
Sidekick or side gig?
sidekick.
Okay. This is something you put me on spot. Okay, the animal that I get is a cat, and maybe a kitty is what I'm going to name. That's a very lame thing, but yeah, a cat is the animal that's coming, and I would name her a kitty.
Wonderful. All right, that's just to break the momentum, get us
Sure.
ready for the next segment. So, um, let's start with our next segment. And so, Nirupama, you are an energy healer, and from the little research that I have done, there are various schools of energy healing. There's spiritual healing, there's contact and distant healing, pranic healing, qigong, reiki, and I don't know. There might be so many others out
Yes.
there. I'm not
Yes.
aware. So, why is energy healing so important, and is it for everyone?
See, like the way we go to a doctor, uh, and when we are actually using any sort of a pathy, whether it's homeopathy, allopathy, Ayurveda, or anything, that is essentially to really come out of that disease. And what is that disease? Disease is when you're not at ease. So when we talk about healing, healing can happen at different levels. It could be at a physical level, like the way I spoke about a disease, at a physical body level. Healing, or if I say healing, can also happen at an emotional level. Like I was talking to somebody in the morning, whenever there's a disease that comes to your body, it first comes to you at an emotional level, because we are really talking about things at a psychosomatic level. Now, what is the psychosomatic level? Whatever emotions you carry, if it is not healed for a long time, they come in the form of diseases. Why is it that men have more heart attacks compared to women? Because they are holding a lot of things within their hearts and they don't vent it out. Women still tend to cry. They don't, carry all of that with a heavy heart. And it comes in the form of a heart attack in a man. If we look at somebody who is not flexible in life, you will find such people having a lot of knee pain because they are having that sort of a rigidity. They are not wanting to bend, or they are not wanting to adapt themselves according to the changing times. If there is a person who is finding it difficult to express, it comes in the form of any sort of a throat infection or something related with your throat, because that is actually, the throat chakra is actually talking about the part of you expressing things out. So while people can choose any sort of a methodology, but if we actually heal things at an emotional level, there are no energy blocks in our body. And when there are no energy blocks in our body, it's a free flowing energy. There is no resistance. Like they say, whatever you resist, it persists. In the same manner, there are a lot of things knowingly, unknowingly that people are resisting. There are a lot of things that people are not letting things happen. And there are blocks with regard to money also. Money can flow to a person easily and effortlessly, but we carry those barriers, we carry those blocks, and we have our issues with receiving money. We have our issues with giving money. When we give money, we have that thought in the back of our head, oh my God, my money will get over. And that's where we are operating from a scarcity point of view. So the moment you let go of all these blocks, wounds could be from our childhood, like, I've given you an example. And if you can just let go of all that clogged energy, then what you get is your real self, your authentic self, which is in a free flowing mode. And you don't need to push yourself a lot. You're actually moving with the life which is full of peace and ease.
So now I've heard.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Nirupama.
So this is a way by which healing happens. And like we've spoken about physical healing, we've spoken about emotional healing. You already spoke about spiritual healing. There is healing at a psychological level. There's healing at a mental level. So essentially, the moment you heal somebody, and how you're healing somebody by removing those blockages. Healing is nothing. I always give that example that we healers are like, people who are cleaners. They are cleaning all the dirt. They are cleaning all the blockages. They are cleaning all the, blocked energies that are within people. And the moment you're able to remove that blocked energy, you are able to operate from a very light space. And when you operate from a light space, light creativity, you create magic.
So now I've heard, people who are healing, the healers, when they practice their healing energies on people, uh, they get depleted as well in their energy. They get exhausted, tired. So in that case, who heals a healer? How do you replenish your energy again?
So I would want to give a word of caution to people, anybody who is wanting to get into healing. Till the time you don't know how to recover yourself or replenish, as Jennifer mentioned, you should not get into healing. Because when you're healing somebody else, you tend to pick up their energies, you tend to pick up those forces that were disturbing that person. Sometimes those forces start attacking you. You are actually cleaning that person, but then you pick them up. But there are ways by which you can clean yourself. And only when a healer knows how to, clean herself, how to clean her energies, that's when a person should get into healing. So there are methodologies, there are protocols by which you can heal yourself.
All right. And do people realize they need this energy healing, and then they approach you for this energy healing sessions, or how do they identify these symptoms? How do they notice that they need this kind of help?
That's a very good question, because for the longest time I was resisting. I was like, hey, I have all the IQ in place, I have all the information in place. Why do I require healing? See, I would say the people who understand energies, the people who are sensitive to energies, the people who understand that there is a school of thought which essentially where things shift even without you lifting your hand. So for a person to accept this thing, the person needs to have an understanding. And even if the person doesn't have an understanding, the person needs to have a sensitivity to this particular thing. Or at least the person needs to be open to trying, even if the person has not tried. So most of the times when I actually talk about healing, I would say 90% of the people, they don't understand healing. It's only 10% of the people whom I find that the moment they see a shift in their life, that now life has become much easier. Earlier, the same work, we had to put so much of effort, we had to do so much of struggle, sacrifice, strife. So it's more to do with tasting it. Like they say, the proof of pudding is in eating it. So the moment people taste this world, then it's addictive. You're like, I don't want to go back to the other world, because things are moving at such a fast pace. Whatever will take a person years together, this is something you can do it in a matter of minutes or a matter of seconds. So I think people need to taste it, before they start trying it out.
And you mentioned that some of them who come to you don't even understand energies. So when they do not understand energies, how do you get this across? How do you help them uh, recover from negative energies or whatever they are dealing with?
See, I would say that there's a time for everything. This is not a work that can be forced upon people, and a healer can never heal anyone without getting the permission from that person. So while I could help people at a cognitive level, while I could help people by really the counseling route, talking out to them and giving them a few things, but that's the time, I allow them to be in that time and space wherein they find that they're comfortable with the healing part. So I never really push healing onto them. I just give them that time and space, that whenever they are ready, if they are ready, they would come with this particular thing. If they find some other way, and I don't say that the healing is the only way in the world. It's just that I have been a healer because that has brought results for me and my family. And that is the reason I am staunchly believing in that. And there's a concept of karmic exchange also. So, Jennifer, when I say karmic exchange, if we are talking on this platform of yours, Crossroad Conversation, it's there for a reason. I mean, there is no coincidence that we are actually talking to each other. There had to be some karmic exchange that was supposed to happen between me and you, and that is the reason we are talking. So when we are healers, we understand that aspect, that if there is a karmic exchange, the karmic exchange would happen between the healer and the client. And if there is no karmic exchange, then you cannot do anything with that person. And you have to just allow that person to be in that space where he or she is.
Right. And this was going to be my next question, actually, because I remember our first conversation that we had. And at that time, too, you had mentioned that it's not a coincidence that the two of us have connected. For sure, there is some kind of karmic energies from the past. There is something to do. So, do you want to elaborate a little more on that concept? I
Yes.
would really want to know a little more deep dive into
Yes.
that.
So, let me talking about the karmic relationships. So we have a particular person to whom we are married to. People have certain souls who come in the form of children to their family. You are born in a particular house. You have a karmic relationship with your parents. You have a karmic relationship with your in-laws. You have a karmic relationship with your spouse, with your children. So these are your deep karmic relationships that are there. Now, what is a karmic relationship? We all are drawn by karma. So when I say karma, karma is unfinished business. So if you are married to a certain person in this lifetime, there was some unfinished business, and marriage is nothing but that unfinished contract that you are completing with that person. People say, oh, I want to be married to this particular person, or I want to be married to that particular person. You will be only married to that person with whom you have an unfinished business. And so is the case with you working at a particular place, the boss that you have. So if there is an account that needs to be settled, like 31st March just went by, everybody was closing their accounts. Everybody was doing that part of, we had bank closing and everything, to be very precise, in the financial domain. So is the case with the karmic account. So there is some part of energy that you need to exchange with that person. It could be a brief moment. We meet a lot of people, when we are commuting in bus, in train, in other places. There is a karmic exchange, but that is for a very brief moment, because the exchange that had to happen with that person was very less. But those relationships that you have with people, whether it is a relationship with regard to money, whether it's a relationship with regard to any sort of a material, whether it is a relationship with regard to the time that you are spending with that person, that cannot happen till the time you don't have anything, incomplete with that person. And the moment you meet that person, the moment you share that time with that person, you share that relationship with that person, you're actually neutralizing your karma with that person. So this is the entire concept of karmic exchange, or your karmic account getting neutralized with that person.
Right. I think maybe it is making sense because I think in our lives we see there are some people who we meet just for a fraction of a moment, just one instance at some place, and there's a wonderful conversation and a rapport that we build with them. But beyond that point, then for whatever reason it may be, nothing negative, but you just can't stay in touch with them.
They drop off of your life.
Exactly. So, are you saying that the account has been closed after that first meet?
Yes,
And that's the
absolutely.
reason we have parted ways without any negative.
And it can happen with the deepest of the family members. Like, I'm not only talking about acquaintances. There are some people, some friends in your life who are holding a very deep space in your life. And suddenly you realize that, you know, uh, there is no more relationship with them. And those people have actually dropped off of your life because there is no karma left to be exchanged with those people. So karma is like that glue. People will stick with you till the time they have that karma to be exchanged with you. And the moment that that karmic account starts getting neutralized, or starts getting that completion keeps on happening, those people will start dropping off from your life, the way those leaves actually fall during autumn or spring. You must be seeing. So it's almost like that, because that karmic glue is no more there to hold those two people together.
Right. So this example which I just spoke of is this, as I said, there was nothing negative exchange that happened, but we fell apart. Now, what about those relationships where there is some kind of bitterness that comes between them? Would that also be considered that they have closed and settled their account? That's why some
Yes.
bitterness has come?
Yes. See, like the way we have a karmic account, we have a karmic script, which a lot of times we call as a storyline. So all the souls and the group souls, they write a storyline for a person, that what will be the sequence of events that will take place for that person in that person's lifetime. Now, some relationships are in a very peaceful way. Like, you have those happy-go-lucky situations with those people. But there are some relationships which actually end with a bang. Or there are some relationships wherein you don't have that pleasant of an experience. One, the people with whom you don't have a pleasant of an experience, they serve two purposes. One, they grow you into a person, and two, they help you discover patterns within yourself. Like I said, you get triggered by certain things, so they actually show you that, hey, Jennifer, this work needs to be done here, because you're getting angry on this particular part because of this particular thing this person said. So there is something that you need to work upon here. So, I mean, we need to be grateful to these people somewhere, that, they actually showed us those areas of improvement which we wouldn't have otherwise seen. So,
Right.
as per the storyline, some people come to us in a very peaceful, fun-loving way, and some people have a bitter relationship, or the relationship with them ends with a bang.
Right. That's really deep and gives us something to think about, and also implement as we meet people and speak, and whether it's building a good rapport, whether somebody coming in and pointing something at us, we
Yes.
realizing, maybe looking at it in a positive sense, and understanding what should I do from here? Is there some
And
a stream
actually,
of
Jennifer, we start looking at things in a very objective way. Even if there is something like things are not going well between people, so we take
Mhm.
it in a way that, okay, if the karmic exchange with this person had to happen in this manner, then you don't even have any hard feelings against that person. I've seen some of my clients where the relationships have not worked between husband and wife, and they
Mhm.
realize that the karmic account was still here, and it's easier for them to take that part rather than getting away from each other with those bitter feelings. So it really helps us in looking at the other person also in a non-judgmental way, because a lot of times when something bitter happens, no, we start pointing fingers or we start saying, oh, this person is like that. But the person isn't like that. It's just that your exchange with that person had to happen in this manner.
Hmm. So true, so true. And we just had Good Friday that went by, and we had Easter Sunday, and it's reminding me of a similar situation where Judas um, and Jesus. If there
Yes,
was no Judas, if Judas didn't have to do what he did, then Jesus wouldn't have fulfilled what he came on earth to do. So it's
absolutely.
it's I think it's the same way for every other person on earth, and in fact for us too. We are here for a particular reason, good, bad, everything together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And I think I'm getting so engrossed deep into conversations, I've lost track of time. Let me ask you just one last question in the interest of time. So, considering your dedication to empowering aspiring women entrepreneurs through the engaging conversations you have on your LinkedIn, the posts that you share, what do you envision as your next step in your journey into supporting, inspiring these women, and how do you would you continue making meaningful impact in their lives?
Had you asked me 5 years ago, I had a 5 year plan and 10 year plan. What is it that I'm going to do next? But with the way, counseling and healing is coming to my life, or rather, I am becoming an instrument to do that. I'm more in the moment now, Jennifer. I am not contemplating my next moves. I'm not contemplating, really big, hairy, audacious goals per se. But I'm doing good work with the people who are coming to me. I'm doing good work in terms of uh, helping people discover their real selves and connect them to the work that they love doing. Because once that alignment is there, they are also able to serve those people to whom they are supposed to reach out to. And I always believe in that law of karma. I mean, for a lot of people, they might say, oh, how unambitious she is. And this, you're actually hearing from a woman who was, absolutely ambitious at one point of time. She started to accept things the way they are. And you're really feeling that whosoever needs to be touched by her is going to be touched by her. I mean, she's actually, becoming that instrument to heal, to bring that transformation in people's life. So I don't have any big plans, to be very upfront with you. But yes, I'm doing good work every day, each and every day. Whatever needs to be done, I am doing that. And because I'm taking care of my present moment, I think the future will be taken care of. That I'm quite confident about, Jennifer.
Yeah, and I see the your posts and the kind of work you're doing, and I know you are doing great work. Wishing you all the best in continuing to being an instrument and touching people's life, inspiring women, and helping us empower ourselves. So thank you so much for all the knowledge you shared, all the inspiration you've shared with us today. Thank you so much, Nirupama, for being on my podcast.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine, Jennifer. And like I said, that this podcast couldn't have been created without your insightful questions. Had you not asked me those questions, these answers wouldn't have come out of me. So you were that force who actually ejected those questions out of me. So I'm really honored, and I'm really grateful for providing me this opportunity. And I totally love this space, that I shared with you in the last 1 hour. Thank you, and wish you all the very best for your upcoming podcast. Please take care.
Thank you so much, Nirupama. Hope you enjoyed today's episode with Nirupama Vyas and learn about the journey of self discovery, about limiting beliefs, concept of karmic exchange, and the role of parenting in shaping a child's subconscious mind. We would love to hear your thoughts about this episode and this season as a whole. So get typing in the comment section below. And don't forget to share this wisdom by sharing this podcast with someone who might need a boost. Thank you for subscribing to Jennifer's Crossroad Conversation. Until next time, keep exploring perspectives and inspiring growth.